Hello and welcome to Spell Valley. My name is Connor. I'm the lead designer and developer at Bad Bishop Games, and Spell Valley is the project I've been working on for the last few years. Spell Valley is a hero-driven, turn-based tactics game. It's available on mobile. You can get it on the iOS App Store and the Amazon App Store today, right now. Links are in the description. You can go do that right away. But while you're here, I'd like to talk a little bit about Spell Valley, introduce you to the game. I'm going to assume you haven't heard of it before, you don't know anything about it, and talk through some of the fundamental concepts. Now, Spell Valley is a hero-driven game, and what that means is that it's all about heroes. All the mechanics, all the strategy, everything that's interesting about the game runs through the heroes, and there's tons of different heroes. Today we're going to talk about a few of them. This is a new account, so I have sort of the initial heroes out of the tutorial. I'm going to start with those, and it's important to start there because they're really fundamental, and they each represent sort of important gameplay concepts that are sort of key to understand. So to begin with, we're going to look at the first two heroes. Okay, so this is the board in Spell Valley. This is sort of just a simple example where each side has one hero. In actuality, you'll each have five. You pick 5 heroes, I pick 5 heroes, and we play a 5 to 10 minute battle where one side wins, and then you can try again. That's it. It's that quick. This isn't one of these like long, plodding turn-based strategy games where one battle takes hours and hours. So let's hop into a game with our two simplest heroes. You start with heroes in your hand, and you drag them onto the board. Like this, you can place them next to your towers. Now, this hero here is the giant. He's the most fundamental hero. Like most heroes in Spell Valley, he can move or attack on his turn, but not both. He can either move to an adjacent hex, or if an enemy was there, he could attack them. There's no enemy at the moment, so he's just going to move. The knight is just like the giant, except he's fast. He has no other special abilities. He just has a speed of 2. So that means he can move 2 hexes per turn instead of 1. And that's a big deal. It's really important to be twice. If you're twice as fast, that really changes things. Any sort of experienced strategy gamers out there will know just how powerful speed is if you know how to use it. And so in exchange for being twice as fast, he has significantly worse stats. He has lower attack and lower health. So he can move 2 hexes, but now he's in range of the giant, and that's not going to work out very well for him. He can try to hit back, but he's no match for the giant. The giant's still going to have plenty of health left over, and the giant wins this little mini battle. Now, in Spell Valley, you can win either by destroying your opponent's heroes or their towers. Either one will do. And so you might think, well, the knight doesn't stand a chance against the giant, and that's actually not the case. It's a little bit... it is not as simple as it may seem. Okay, so let's try this again. This time, the knight is not just going to run to the giant. Giant steps up. Runs over here. Giant steps up. Here. You can see it doesn't seem like the knight is making much headway. But it's actually important that the giant take action because the game doesn't go on forever, right? Your towers start burning on turn 7, and that means that they take 1 damage every turn until your towers have burned down. And because the first player went first, their towers burn first. And that means the giant has to do damage. He has to either kill the knight outright like he did last game, or he has to deal damage to the towers. He can't just wait around here. So he can't just shuffle back and forth, or else the knight will win anyway. The knight, being the second player, sort of has this advantage of winning the tie, of winning the draw. If no one does damage to the towers, the second player will win. The giant has to get closer, and that means the knight can walk back like this. And maybe the giant says like, okay, well, now I can get a hit off your knight, and maybe I can win that way. But he's only going to get 1 hit. The knight does damage to the tower. The giant can attack him, you know, but now the knight is running away. And even if the giant tries to chase him down, it's not going to work. Because the knight can always keep running. And the giant loses. So it's actually not so simple that just because the giant, even in this case with these two heroes, it's not so clear that the giant should win all the time. That's not necessarily the case. So another example I want to show off another, we'll get some more heroes here, would be the archer. Now, you can probably guess what the archer does. The archer has a range of 2. So she can attack heroes that are 2 hexes away, but she can't attack heroes that are right next to each other. And so her stats are worse than those of a giant. But otherwise, she's just like a giant. She can move to adjacent hex, or she can attack. Maybe she passes in this case. Giant walks up, or she takes damage. But unfortunately, she doesn't do enough damage to really dissuade the giant, who can keep chasing her and then win the game that way, right? So the giant was able to chase down the archer despite her range 2, even though he couldn't chase down the knight because the knight was too fast. Now let's Now we're going to talk about 2 more heroes before we jump into a battle. This is the warrior. The warrior can move and then attack on his turn. And this is the mage, who doesn't look very threatening. She only has 1 attack, she only has 2 health. But she has this powerful spell. So the warrior can step up like this. The mage goes here. And the way spells work is that heroes get 1 mana every turn. This blue stuff is mana, and when they have enough mana, they can cast their spell. You can see Mystic Missile costs 2 mana. See the 2 right here. So she can use this spell to deal damage to the first enemy in a line. Now she's not in line with the warrior at the moment, right? Lines are like this. But she can move and then use her spell, right? So most spells you can move or attack and then still use them. However, that's not going to be enough in this case because she is now in range of the warrior. She only has 2 health, and the warrior takes her out and wins the game. Now, this is just an example. In most games of Spell Valley, you've got 5 heroes, not 1. So now that I've talked about the mechanics a little bit, let's hop into a ladder game and see the heroes sort of in a more representative setting. Okay, so we have to think about which of our heroes we want to play first. If you're the first player, you can play 3 heroes on your turn, not all of them, and that's to keep things fair. If you could play all of them on your first turn, you would just run the second player over. So to keep things balanced, you can only play 3. So I think we're going to play our mage right away, so she can start earning mana earlier. We're going to play our giant, so that he can get across the board someday, and we're going to play our warrior, too, so he can get into range. And you can see the second player now gets to play all of their heroes. And actually, they have a bunch of new heroes here. It happens in the deck that our opponent's playing. But the nice thing is that you can always click on a hero to see where they threaten and how much, where they can attack, right? So the bandit can run and then still attack after moving. He's like a knight and a warrior combined. So our poor mage is actually in danger. We're going to step up our giant, hide our mage back here, walk up at the warrior, and we're going to use our knight to protect our mage from the bandit. Okay, Now our opponent has the wizard, who's just like the mage, but the wizard doesn't need to, can't move and then cast the spell. So their spell's a lot stronger. It hits a whole line, hits everything in the line. It doesn't stop at the first enemy, but the wizard can't move before using their spell. So actually, we now need to stay out of this line here, which is important thing to keep in mind. Okay. Now, we are able to hit the ranger with our magic missile, our mystic missile, as soon as we move the giant. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that. And then I want to use a little trick here to attack the bandit. This is called the swap trick, right? You think the warrior, he shouldn't be able to reach the bandit, but actually he can, right? We step him up, and then we use the knight to swap places with him. When you move a hero into an ally, they will swap places. This actually might be a little bugged, but keep in mind swapping counts as move out heroes. It's just a visual bug. Looks a little weird. But now because he just moved, but he can still attack because he's a charged hero. So he can go like that. We'll step our archer up, and we'll step the mage back. Okay. The next hero we have to worry about here is the assassin. Now the assassin can move next to a hero within 2. So any of these, you know, if I leave a hero here, then the assassin could jump to here and kill my mage. So that's not good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk the giant up. We're gonna walk the warrior up. And I think this will keep me protected from the assassin, because the assassin can jump to these hexes. And so we can't get my mage, and the assassin isn't high enough level to kill my archer. Okay. So we are going to... Yeah, let's just do this. The warrior kills our warrior, but this is still an overwhelming advantage. Surprised he didn't use the spell there. But it doesn't matter. It's dead anyway. There we got a nice chest. Let's redeem that. Always accept push notifications. Okay. So that was sort of a little example against just an AI opponent to give you a sense. But I want to bring in my friend who is going to play a couple live battles with me. So let's make a couple. We're going to make a couple decks, a few different decks with the early characters, and then we will play some real battles. Hey guys, I'm back. It's a few days later. My friend and I did play those live games. They came out really well. There were some close ones, really down to the wire. We showed up a bunch of new heroes, and it really just seemed like something that deserved its own video. That's 50 minutes. There's 4 great battles there. You can check out the link in the description below. You can also find in the description below is links to the actual game on the Apple App Store or the Amazon App Store. If you have an Android phone, you can still download the Amazon App Store and download the game, no problem. So please check out the beta, try it for yourself. Tell me what you think in the comments, join the Discord, subscribe to the frickin' channel. And as always, I'm super appreciative of your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day.